18 months later, 12 months later, and I had to go in, and the witnesses aren't like sitting in the jury room or the gallery. Mm-hmm. I was set in a little private room, and they came in, they got me, and they brought me out, and they asked me my name, my occupation, if I knew them, and then the defense attorney asked me a couple questions, and the prosecuting attorney objected, and so they came up to the judge, and I was right there next to it, and they, I don't know, told the judge why object.
1 minute until showtime.
And, the judge said, I don't allow it. And he looked at me and said, disregard that question. I said, okay. And they asked me a few more questions and dismissed me. And about a week later, a police officer came in and told me that the guy confessed. And so
wow,
he did a plea deal, and that was the end of it. So. But actually, witness to a murder, you know. Well, not a murder, witness to before the fact, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, you know, that was
that's a tough
that
position to be in. Yeah, I bet. I had to. Just trying to listen to the stream here to make sure, because sometimes the audio gets garbled.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds.
No, I'm not ready
4,
yet.
3, 2, 1.
I'm right. There it is, 0.
Blog Talk Radio.
This is All About Wine, the talk show dedicated to the wine industry since 2009. Featuring winemaker, cellar master, vineyardist, and tasting expert, Ron.
Basically, what we're trying to do on this program is just trying to educate people and trying to make wine less confusing and more friendly.
From coast to coast and around the world.
You know, we really have had some neat people on the program. I love that.
Post your questions and comments during the live show on our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/allaboutwinebtr. Again, that's www.facebook.com/allaboutwinebtr. And now, All About Wine is on. Here's Ron.
There we go. Oh, wow.
Most people are thrilled that they're here in Florida and not anywhere else in the country.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Some weather out there.
Some weather out there, I tell you.
You know, it got pretty cold
22
here.
22 feet of snow.
Well, we're not that cold, but it got cold here last night, and in the
Yesterday
40s
morning,
and 30s. Yeah. 30s in some parts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
In fact,
one more little reminder.
I had to go out, an appointment Wednesday morning, and oh my gosh, I went and got out of the car, and it was drizzly raining, and it was cold, and I went, oh, geez,
When did
the park and
when did you move? When did you move to Seattle or something, wherever?
Yeah,
this is
it was the
Pacific Northwest type of weather.
A classic Seattle weather.
Yep.
For all you people in Seattle, our apologies.
Yes.
And our sympathies. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Yeah. But it was nippy. But I play golf tomorrow. I'm supposed to hit 81. So we recovered from our coach.
You can always count on that. Count on it.
One day.
Yep. That's it. Well, let's see. Still can't get on Blog Talk Radio chat for some stupid reason. I don't know. Every time I load it up.
Oh, really?
I may have to try something else. Maybe turn off Firefox and go to Chrome on that one. But I got too many Chrome windows open. That's my main browser, and I've got 20, 30 tabs open for different things. But if you want to chat, you can go to our Facebook page or YouTube, just about anywhere, I guess, and that we're on. And try finding a chat thing and let me know. We can do that.
It's just
We'll chat with you there.
although Facebook has what, a 10-minute delay. So
No, it's
if we,
it's about
it's even now.
it's within a couple of seconds. Yeah, so far.
No,
By the end of the show, it'll be an hour, but yeah. It's like when was this? It was the first simulcast thing I think we did, and I looked at the clock and I go, wait a minute, we're still talking on the show, and our little outro video thing was done playing, and I looked at the clock and it was, I forgot, what was it, 7 minutes, 6 or 7 minutes behind, and and now we're about 6 seconds, so it's not too bad. But so
that's not bad.
And the thing is, as soon as I click, end stream to turn it off, it turns it off immediately. It doesn't turn it off in 7 minutes. And so people didn't catch the end of it. So it's getting better ever since then. I'm trying to figure out what the problem is, but just the delay out there is just amazing. Yeah, it just increases as the show goes. So I don't know where that happens, but
Why would that happen? That makes no sense.
It's got to bounce off the moon. The space station has to look at it, whatever that thing's called, and then they have to send it back down, and it's phone cables,
couple of satellites.
Yeah, and then China has to steal what they can, and then it comes back to us. So.
Right, and government has to censor a couple of things. And,
yes, of course.
So,
so here we are.
By the end of the show, it's
it'll be delayed
7
again.
minutes.
Yeah,
no,
it's 7
that makes
seconds.
sense when you look at it like that.
Yeah, too many people.
Well,
All right.
too many people. I've been working on guests. It looks like we might have a full April, and possibly coming up. Last couple of weeks this month, we may get a guest, but I've been digging. I had some new emails, but I also dug up some ones that were sent to spam, and I don't know why that, because I usually don't get anything in spam on All About Wine, simply because I want to be able to see what comes in, because people do send in possible guests and stuff.
Yeah.
And I looked in spam, which I hardly ever do, and I found one from January that was a potential guest, and I wrote her yesterday, and she wrote me back and says, she says, you need to put this on your regular thing and not spam. And I said, yeah, I know. But, the strange thing is, though, I check spam every once in a while, and there's hardly anything in there, because I keep this pretty open because of that. But, so we...
so April might be a
guest-full month.
That sounds good.
It might be a guestful. I've got potential for 6 guests right now, as it is, what I'm working on. So
wait, 6 guests? How many weeks? How many Thursdays are in April? Is there 6 guests? 6
April? I
6
think
Thursdays?
there's only 4 this year. So
okay,
we may have to create a couple more Thursdays,
right,
to get through April.
Yep.
We'll see what we can come up with. But,
absolutely.
It could be a problem, because I keep telling people, as of now, April is wide open. And so let's see, we got only 4. Yeah.
Wow.
So they start contacting me saying, how about April this, April that? And I'm going to have to start bouncing people around, which I hate doing that. But some interesting ones. We've got experts in biodynamics, and we've women in wine, and all sorts of stuff. I can't remember all of them right now. I really.
We have time.
Let's see, what do we got? But sommeliers and a Chinese American that has worked her way through the system, and sustainable wine and all sorts of stuff. So we've got a lot of interesting interviews and talks coming up here in the future. So stay with us on All About Wine. Don't take the month of April off, because it's going to be a good month.
Yeah.
And another shout out to Jessica from last week. That was a fun interview. I enjoyed that a lot. So that is coming up there over the next 6 weeks. Looks like we got ourselves quite a few guests. So that's a good thing. It's always great to have guests. And if you know of anyone that might be interested, or if you are a promotional person for people in the industry, get in touch with me if you think they would like to come on the show or any of that. I'd love to have them come on, but not in April. We're busy in April.
You have to bump some people in April, it sounds like. There's six
I'm going
to,
wow. Some people in April is going to have to be. Well, first come, first serve. So if, I get a bunch of April. I was going through emails too, and I found different people that I have talked to in the past, talked to in the past, and the possibilities of it. But I think I was going to start getting a hold of people, but I'm going to have to delay that, because I hate to say, okay, now we can't do you in the rest of this month or April, but we're going to look at May, and by that time people forget. So I will wait a little bit and see what I can find. So there we are. And just some information tonight is all I'm going to talk about. Nothing earth-shattering, but just a few things I saw that, as always, I think might be interesting, and I'm going to share with you. And let's see, what's this here? No, there it is. This is a blog that I saw, and I thought it was interesting, and I was going to paraphrase it for you, and then I thought, why do that? I think I'm going to read it to you. It's not real long, but it's interesting, and especially if you start considering the fact of all the rains and the wet weather they're having in California, in the vineyards and in the wine growing regions, and all the rains that's going across the country, and all the snow that they're having, and the wet grounds and everything else. This blog is called, "What Are the Pros and Cons of Rain During the Life of a Vine?" And that's, growers and winemakers are always wanting to have the ideal amount of rain come in, and that never works. It's always none or too much. And lately it has been too much, although for the last 3 years it's been none. So it's feast or famine. But this article is really quite interesting, because it talks about the stages of the grapevines and rains on it and all that. So again, I think I'm gonna read it to you instead of trying to paraphrase it. This is from the Press Democrat. And where is the Press Democrat located? And I've been trying to look and find that somewhere on here, and I haven't been able to find it. So I don't know. I think it's Petaluma or Sonoma or something like that. I don't know. Let me click on this and see if I can tell you where it's located.
If I remember correctly, it's out of Santa Rosa.
Santa Rosa?
The Press Democrat. You're
so good at that memory. It probably is.
Yeah, Santa Rosa, California. I believe and I'm just strictly going by memory, that they had their first issue back in 1897.
Wow.
And they're owned by Sonoma.
That's something.
Yeah, still. They have 22,000 daily, subscribers, and 29,000 Sunday is their circulation. So,
wow.
Big big time. They are the sister newspaper of the Sonoma Index Tribune and the Argus Counter, whatever that is. Santa Rosa, California. Yeah.
Santa Rosa. So this is from the Santa Rosa Press Democrat. Thank you, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And the author of this blog is Peg Melnick. And, I read it to you. Of course, I'll have something pop up that I always make comments on. But rain is on everyone's mind lately, and we're all looking at the forecast for the coming days and weeks. Grapevines, currently in a stage of dormancy, are largely unaffected right now, but what about the long-term outlook? We talked with 5 winemakers about the rain. What effect does excessive precipitation have on vines during their other seasonal stages, and what would be ideal and for the best grapes? Quote, rains can be a positive or a negative depending on when the rainfall happens, end quote, explaining Jesse Katz, winemaker and founder of Hillsburg's Aperture Cellars. I'm constantly checking weather reports in our on-site weather stations. During the growing season, I could be checking on weather hourly, if not more. Dormant vines. Grapevines typically being hibernating in late November when the vines are bare through February. To date, the rains have been beneficial for the most part, according to vintners. They've filled up vintners' reservoirs and ponds, allowing these reservoirs to serve them well for irrigation and frost protection. But too much rain and vines can experience a condition called wet feet, in quotes. In short, waterlogged vineyards can prevent oxygen from reaching a vine's roots, eventually hindering the vine's ability to receive water and nutrients. Erosion is another concern because nutrients can be washed away. Some combat erosion with hay bales. Bud break. And this, a lot of areas is already happening, bud break now. During this stage, typically in early March, the vines awaken from their hibernation and push out buds where the cane of the vine eventually will grow. While excessive rain during bud break is not cause for concern, stormy weather before bud break could delay this stage. And they have been getting the rivers of storms in California, up and down California. And basically the whole state is growing grapes. So I haven't talked to anybody, and, that's funny. I just saw this article, and I was thinking I need to call some people out there in California and find out what's happening with bud break, with all this rain, if it's delayed it or anything. Then bloom. From April to May, bunches of tiny flowers bloom from the new vine shoots. Self-pollinating, each of these flowers has the potential to turn into a single grape. However, excessive rains in the flowering stage can knock the blooms right off the plant, reducing the number of berries on the vine. Well, if they got bud break soon and it's warmed up, they might be having a problem. I haven't heard anything about problems out there on the vineyard, but whenever you see news reports coming out of California, they're always talking about the atmospheric rivers that are coming in. They're not saying too much about what's happening with the grapevines. I'm going to have to call the California Grape Growers Association. Let me make a note of that. That is something that I really need to do and find out what's going on. And let's see. Call Cal Grape Growers Association about effects of rain on grapevines. Now. Okay. Now, I told you a couple of weeks ago I was going to contact Cornell University up there about genetically altered grapevines. I found some phone numbers for them, and most of them I'm calling now. They must be on spring break or something up there, because I called them. Remembered and called them this past week, and I was getting recordings saying, we're not in the office at this time. So I haven't given up. I will see what I can find out on those. So here we go. Boom. Okay. Verizon. Okay. Typically in July, Verizon signals the onset of ripening, with the green grapes transitioning into red grapes. And that's what Verizon is. After Verizon, excessive rains wouldn't cause a significant problem for thicker skinned varietals, such as a Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, or Petit Verdot, because these grapes would be tough enough to withstand stormy weather, winemakers and growers all say. But for the thinner, boy, my tongue's getting in the way of my talk today. But for the thinner skinned varietals with tight clusters, examples would include Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noir, excessive rain can be problematic, with fungi developing. While mildew can occur anytime during the growing season, fungi can form on the grapes after verizon. One example of troublesome fungus is botrytis, which makes the grapes shrivel and rot from inside the bunch out. The only vintners who can benefit from botrytis grapes, also known as the noble rot, are those making dessert wines, such as Sauternes, a French sweet wine from the region of the same name, and the Graves section in Bordeaux, or infamously ice wines. Ripening stage. This stage is typically from July to harvest, which can start as early as August. And with excessive rains, fungi can form any time after verizon and throughout the ripening stage. One example, again, is botrytis. So there is possibilities of the season. Jesse Katz is a founder and winemaker at Aperture Cellars in Hillsburg, was asked the question, from now until harvest, what are the potential problems with excessive weather that could affect the quality of the grapes? In other words, what is your worst nightmares? He said, we don't want to see rain during flowering because it can cause shatter. This is when grape clusters failing to reach full maturity. This is disrupting the self-pollinating process of the vines and will lead to straggly clusters with fewer berries. Once the vines wake up, assuming the soil profiles are filled, that soils are holding all the water they need. He says, I really prefer to see little or no rain prior to verizon, in particular in red varietals. I don't know, again, where they're at right now. This is a critical time with the grapes going through the coming out of the dormant stage and going into bud, break, and bloom, and without those steps properly being done, then it's going to throw them back. I don't know. Rain during the season can sometimes be problematic and raise mildew pressure, especially on thin-skin and tight cluster varietals. Overall, I think sometimes the concern for a little rain post-rising gets blown out of proportion, and winemakers who have not worked in other climates can cause them unnecessary stress. Okay, another question I asked him, in your mind, do the rains this year mean we've overcome the drought? And he said this is a complex question, but the short answer is no. We have years of lower than normal participation in snowfall, and a wet month or season is not enough to make up for the years of drought conditions. We would need multiple years of above average rainfall, and this is definitely helping. So there you go. They're still battling that drought. In your view, are the rains another example of weather extremes in the broader context of climate change? He says, again, this is a complex question, but in general, I think we're seeing extremes because I think extremes become more extreme in our weathering patterns. And they asked Arnold Weirich, a winemaker and production senior vice president of Roeder estate in Mendocino County. From now until harvest, what are the potential problems with excessive weather that could affect the quality of the grapes? Same question as the other. There are always ways to mitigate excess groundwater because we have underground French drains in the vineyard. What we cannot mitigate are effects of very high heat that cause dehydration of our fruit, as well as smoke from wildfires. So he's saying he doesn't mind the rains because he can drain it well. It's other issues that he's concerned about. The question was asked of him if it's overcoming the drought. And he responded by saying, if you have to take it 1 year at a time, with such a large amount of rain, it means we banked water potentially for 2 years between the soils that have been absorbed. However, nothing much has changed with the fact that we will continue to use water wisely in order to have as much water left at the end of the year as we possibly can. And his question was asked about, is this a broader context of climate change? And he said the winter 22-23 rain season feels like our 2005-2006 winter rain season. It was relentless and created flooding, slides, etc. in Northern California and in the Anderson Valley. It's the frequency at which you move from one extreme to the next that seems to be the new normal, which is so very true. And Remy Cohen, CEO of Domaine Canaris in Napa, was asked the same three questions. For there are risks, he says, for vineyard managers throughout the growing season. Drought or excessive rainfall can impact timing and uniformity in bud break. A winter warm spell could cause an early bud break, and if frost occurs after bud break, it has potential for severely damaging the vines. Inclement weather during bloom from rain, wind, or extreme heat events can impact the fruit set and the season's yield. Excessive rain, hail, or extreme heat can cause challenges during the ripening. Until the grapes are harvested and in the winery, there is an array of weather events that could impact the growing season to varying degrees. He was asked, does this rain overcome the drought? As helpful as the above average precipitation is for this growing season and for snowpack accumulation in California, we need more years of good rainfall to overcome our state deficit. And that's what everybody's saying anyway. I mean, they're saying this, they would need like 3 years of this type of rain to get out of this. And they said, is this the new normal? And he says, I tend to agree with climatologists who foretell wilder weather swings and an increase in frequency of extreme weather events. And they asked a couple of other winery, another co-owner, Randy Peters at Kokomo Winery in Hillsburg, the same questions. Basically, he gave the same answers. This is what's happening. We are not out of the drought. And Joel Peterson, inventor of Once and Future Wines in Glen Ellen, is, again, basically the same comments and same answers, a little bit worded differently, but they're all pretty much in agreement. This is not the worst it could be on weather. There are other things that would affect them and bother them more. Frost being a big one. Hail is another one that most of them don't like because it just knocks the plants to pieces. And the possibilities of alleviating the drought, they're all saying the same thing. They need a lot more rain than this consistently over about 2 or 3 years to make up for the drought. And you all know that. Look at Lake Mead, and you can see how low that is. And climate change, they're saying, it's probably part of it. The weather has been erratic, and frequent extremes has really caused the vineyards and the people at the vineyards to scratch their heads all the time. They don't know what's coming and what's going to happen to get a perfect growing season. This guy with this Randy, no, Joel Peterson says to get a perfect growing season is getting harder and harder to envision. He says also human effect on the climate has been going on for a long time, since the 1800s and the Industrial Revolution. So there you go. Grapevines can be affected in all sorts of ways. This rain is affecting them. It's flooding all around it. If they have built their vineyards like many like to do in California, and again, I don't know what the final effect is on it there. I haven't talked to any vineyards or any wineries or anyone in the know, but most of them build it on slopes, on hills. You look at pictures of California vineyards, and very few of them are just flat, except in Napa Valley itself, which is flat. But most everything else is up in the hills. So the drainage will be down to Napa Valley, and they could be affected down there with flooding. And we're not done. I mean, Sonoma's got, 28 feet of rain or something. I don't know, some mind-boggling number of inches or feet up there in the foothills and Sonoma Mountains and Tahoe and all that. That it's just, they've closed ski resorts because of the amount of snow. It's just too much. So when you get to that, when this starts to melt, and it will be melting before long here, they're already warning of serious flooding throughout California. And Napa Valley could be flooded. It's a good possibility that they'll be flooded because there's going to be no place for this water to go. And as it comes off the hills and off the mountains and starts flowing west, it's not going to be able to hold it in the bank. So this is something that's going to be devastating too. And the wildfires all over the place, with the last 2 or 3 years burning the hills and all that, is not good either, because it's going to end up causing mudslides, even worse than it normally would. So the vineyards that are on the hills are going to be a little bit better shape than those in Napa and Sonoma valleys, on the floor of the two valleys. But all of them are critical positions, critical places and all that. So it's not good. And I speak of California because we're seeing how much rain and how much snow they're getting there, but then we can buzz all the way across the country to New York State and the New England states and the vineyards that they have there. And yes, they have a lot of vineyards up in that region too, and not just in the Finger Lakes or New York and Hudson, all that, but also New Hampshire and the New England states, and across the top in Minnesota and Michigan, all these areas where we have grapevines everywhere in this country. And because of that, the weather event could be devastating, because they're getting a lot of snow in some of these areas. And when it melts, it could cause a major problem. I hope not. I really do. I mean, for the sake of vineyards and vineyard managers and wineries, that's your livelihood. And I hate to see flood get it anymore. And as much as I hate to see the fires work their way through and get it. So, but that's just a little thing on the rain that's affecting California. Nice little article on how it works there and the different times of seasons that it could affect it. Cognac. Brandy. Cognac is a brandy. All brandy is not cognac, but cognac is brandy. Let's see. Okay. Okay, thank you. I hate it when I click on an article and they say, you need to subscribe to the newspaper, or you need to subscribe to the magazine. It's only $1 a week for the first 10 weeks. I don't want to subscribe. Okay, as simple as that. Cognac has new grapevine, or new grapes. The Cognac Wine Growers Organization asked the National Institute for Origin and Quality to add, and that is the National Institute for Origin and Quality. It's initialed INAO. They asked them to add 3 varieties of interest for adoption, abbreviated VIFA, to its specifications. Now, they got to go through this because that is, very controlled there in the Cognac region. These include Vidal, of the lesser-known varieties, Cotia, Coutia, and Luminan, Luminan, all of which were registered in the official catalog with a decree published in the official journal dated December 22nd, 2021. So it's already there. They just need to have the INAO say, yeah, you can use them. The Cotia and Luminan are 2 white monogenic varieties stemming from 20 years of research work led by Alain Bouquet in a program conducted in conjunction with the French National Research Institute for Food, Agriculture, and the Environment, and taken over by the National Cognac Trade Bureau. The reason they wanted them, they're resistant to downy and powdery mildew and appear to be suitable for producing distillation grapes. And depending on feedback from the INAO and the availability of plants, volunteer wine growers will be able to plant from 2024 onward, up to a maximum of 5% of their total vine stock and 5% of the appellation's total acreage. An experimental body will monitor the performance of the new vine. So there you go. They got to go through a lot of steps to get this approved. Cognac is very regulated, and when you start putting new grapes in it, obviously it has to go through a lot of steps, and they're going to be checking it and all that stuff. So, new grapes, 3 new varieties that they're trying to get approved. Vidal and Cotia and Luminan. So that could be a good trivia answer in a year or so. Scotland, this made me laugh. Scotland is proposing a alcohol advertising ban. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't make any sense, does it? Scotland. It's a pretty long article, and it starts quoting all sorts of people and all there. But it says, according to the Scotch Whisky Association, in 2019, there were 2.2 million visits to Scotch whisky distilleries, making the industry the 3rd most popular tourist attraction in Scotland, generating approximately £7 million in revenue. And the proposals would also affect other major events and attractions in Scotland. So it's something that the Scottish, where was it? Oh, come on. There it is. Something the industry is battling like crazy. And they're saying, though, that in, where's my number here? They saw an outrageous number of alcohol-related deaths. Oh, I read this earlier. Where is it now? Let's see. Oh, here we go. Public Health Scotland's alcohol-related hospital statistics reveal that men were 2.3 times more likely than women to be admitted to general acute hospitals for alcohol-related conditions. And let's see. No, that's not it. The number of deaths was outrageous, like 200 and something a week over the year. No, not 224. Here it is. According to the National Records of Scotland, 1,245 people died from conditions caused by alcohol in Scotland in 2021. That is the equivalent of 24 a week, the highest number of deaths since 2008. And so they're They said clearly alcohol-related harm is a pressing issue in Scotland. So they're looking at trying to stop advertising. They said that would help. Maybe. I don't know. I can't see how it would, but they think it will. It says, as for the appeal of alcohol to younger people, Gen Z is growing up more sober. In 2019, a drink aware study found that 16 to 25-year-olds in the UK were the most likely to be teetotalers, with 26% not drinking, compared to the least likely generation, 55 to 74-year-olds, or 15% of whom don't drink. All right, hang in there, boomers. But that should be interesting. If Scotland, I don't think it'll pass. It's just they come up with stuff like that. Legislatures. Oh well, don't get me started on legislatures. They start doing crazy things, all that. They get in office and they want to make a name. So let me see. Let me submit a bill where they can't advertise alcohol anymore in Scotland because, well, there's just too much drinking. Yeah, and how did that work out anywhere else in the world? So I don't know. And let's see what else. There was something else on this. Oh, yeah. And speaking of floods, this was one that was very interesting. This says California's devastating floods may actually benefit winemakers, and that really caught my eye. And I said, well, why would that be so? And it is basically because these floods are going to clean the ground, if you will. Unexpected silver lining. Heavy rains seem not only recharge drought-thirsty aquifers, but also they flush away or leach toxic vineyard salt deposits and other chemicals. So they're saying that this might be a good thing. All this rain just might clean up the ground a little bit. Those small things, and salts in soil contain important micronutrients, but some, like sodium or chloride or boron, carry a toxic punch if left to build up and cause problems. And because of the drought, it seems to be worse. So the rains could actually flush it out, clean it out a little bit with all the chemicals that are there. And it's not just, well, people say, well, my vineyard is organic, biodynamic, I don't have anything in it. Well, things flush down from the hills and all that other stuff. So there's stuff in the soil that the rains every once in a while is good for it. So harvest 2022 was off by between 20% and 30% in production. So because of the drought. And so they think that this is going to help. Salt poisoned plants dehydrate, desiccate, and even die. And the leaves burn or turn brown, and the grape quality suffers. So the salt in the ground is something that is not a good thing. Naturally, salty irrigation systems play a part in it, and so that's one of the ways that you get the salt in the ground. And then also further north, salt deposits remain an exception rather than the norm in the north coast. So that's not too bad. But if you look at Southern California and Santa Barbara, the soil there don't have the rainfall, so therefore the salt picks up in the ground and starts accumulating over time. And it has. Salts have leached in the ground quite a bit. So with the rains that are going through everything, it could really be a good thing for the soil and for the vineyards to get that salt out of the ground. Good thing. So, another thing about it, besides the fact that it's filling up the aquifer, it's the filtering of the soil and filtering out a lot of the bad stuff. And the soils, farmers that do use any type of chemicals, then this is a good way to clean it up and clean out the soil. So there you go. That is a good thing. And okay, let me see here. Tassel Ridge Winery. I want to mention them too because I got myself a couple things in the last couple of weeks. They have Iowa Brianna, which is a sweet white wine with apricot, peach, kiwi, and starfruit on the nose, and pear, apple, and apricot on the palate. I've had that. That's a pretty decent. I'm not a sweet wine fan, but that wasn't a bad wine. That was. It would definitely be great with food. I didn't have an opportunity to have it with food. I tasted there, but that would be great with food. The 2021 Iowa Edelweiss is now available also. It's semi-sweet wine with, they're saying, pineapple, mandarin orange, and pear notes. And it's made with Edelweiss grapes grown in their vineyard right there. So that was pretty good, too. I could see that being paired with some spicy foods and stuff. So they got those available now. And let's see, wine of the week is the Brianna. And seated wine tastings by reservation only, or space available at Tassel Ridge. So, call ahead, and tastings range from $15 to $25, and seating is limited to allow for social distancing. So they're still doing that. And then the tasting bar is not open, but wearing masks is optional. And call all of your wineries. If you are going to go to a winery, call them first and find out what their protocol is for mask and everything. Although a lot of places have stopped it, a lot of places don't worry about it. Some of the wineries are still practicing their protocols. Hence, here's Tassel Ridge that's doing it. So there's a lot of them. I'm a veteran, went to the VA clinic, and they have stopped the protocols at the VA clinics now for a mask. Although, as a patient coming in, you're not required to wear one, but most all of the personnel that work there, doctors, nurses, and reception people and all that, are wearing masks. So it's not over yet. So call first is the bottom line. When you're going to go to a winery, look them up on the internet and give them a call. And that way you won't be stuck. They probably don't have a box of masks for you to put on as you come in. I doubt that, but call first. So you can do tastings there. They are doing a wine and wood-fired oven pizza night by reservation only, coming up on March 24th. That's a week from tomorrow. So get ready for that. Speaking of tomorrow, St. Patrick's Day. You can have your Guinness, or you can go with wine. Green. The Environmental Agency down here in Tampa is trying to stop them from, well, it's not the Environmental Agency. Let me get this correct. It's fishermen. I want them to not dye the Hillsborough River, which runs through Tampa, green, because they say that they fish in it, and if they dye it green, it's going to stop their fishing. So I don't know. Chicago River is famous for dyeing Chicago and the river is famous for dyeing it green, and you don't hear about that stuff. But I guess, Oh well. But St. Patty's Day is tomorrow, so there's something to celebrate with wine or Guinness if you're into Guinness, and corned beef and cabbage. Corned beef is outrageously priced. If I may make a comment on that, oh my gosh, it just is too expensive right now. Uh, and it shrinks up. You put that in the pot and you start cooking it, and it shrinks up. So you have to get one that's big enough to not shrink. Well, okay. Enough of my ranting here. Tassel Ridge Winery. They're located in Layton, Iowa, and you can go to Tassel Ridge. I think it's TasselRidgeWinery.com. They don't have it here. That's always surprises me. Every time I look at this, I wonder why they don't have their email address here for me to just read to you. Just Tassel Ridge, it looks like here, TasselRidge.com. So get a hold of them if you want to go there, or stop and see them. They're located in southeast Iowa, and a pretty nice place. It really is just a beautiful little place there. Right now, I think they got snow all over, so I would question the wisdom of visiting them, but it's a fun place. Let's see, Whispering Oaks. There's another one that I get all the time. If you know a winery, or if you have a winery and you want to send an email to me, just do so. I'll promote your winery, periodically on the show. Whispering Oaks, home to great music, food, and our award-winning wine. Steak night is coming up, available by reservation. Let's see, award-winning steakhouse this week. They're offering a choice of grilled beef medallions or surf and turf, which is beef medallion and grilled shrimp, or 12-ounce ribeye, or fresh fish or chicken. Served with large baked potato, fresh veggies, ranch-style baked beans, plated salad or soup, and fresh baked bread. I think they baked the bread right there. $32 per person, does not include tax and gratuity or alcohol. Reservations are required. They have live music also this weekend. Friday the 17th, 6 to 9. Saturday the 18th, 1 to 4. And again, 6 to 9. And then Sunday, 1 to 4. And, they have April the 6th, they got an event coming called Piece of Woodstock. It's a tribute to the 60s and to the concert. It's a Woodstock concert. And so Easter is just around the corner, so make your reservations for Easter at any of your wineries. Keep that in mind, too, April the 9th, if you don't. And then Mother's Day is May the 14th. And you really need to make your reservations early for that at any of the wineries, because if you delay, they're going to get full. So again, a lot of them are still doing their social distancing, and they take less people now than they used to. So keep those dates in the back of your mind so you don't miss them. And this one here, this Piece of Woodstock, it looks pretty good. And this Piece, it's P-E-A-C-E, Piece of Woodstock, a tribute to the festival that defined the 60s. I went to Woodstock. I was actually there. I was one that was stationed at Fort Devens, Massachusetts at the time. And I had some other guys say, we're going to a concert they're putting on over in New York, and which was a pretty easy drive from where we were. And they said, you want to go on? I said, I don't know. And they said, come on. So I said, okay. So we went to Woodstock, and we got rained on, and it was sloppy, and it was muddy, and there was lots of people there, and it was crazy. And we were 3/4 of the way back from the stage, and it was hard to hear because people were always talking. Then afterwards, we realized that it was really quite an event, and we were happy we were there, but it was sort of miserable at times. So I actually got to see Bob Hope in Vietnam, the last tour that Bob Hope made in Vietnam to entertain the troops. I actually got to see him there. It was in Da Nang, and I was a ways up. But the problem with that is they had helicopters buzzing around because they didn't want any rockets or anything coming from around outside of town shooting into the crowd and shooting into the stage and stuff. So they were constantly monitoring it with helicopters. It was hard to hear them too. And that was back when I was young and had good hearing. So, but I did see Bob Hope live too on his last show that he ever did before he retired. Yeah. For all you young people, look up Bob Hope if you don't know him. Okay, so Castle Ridge and Whispering Oaks, and check them out. Wine Folly has came out with a little thing about Marsala. Marsala is a fortified wine. That means that they've added alcohol to it to make it stronger. Most people use it as a cooking wine, although Marsala can be used for much more. It comes in all sorts of styles, bone dry to very sweet, and it comes in a range of colors and all sorts of stuff. Marsala is really quite a diversified wine. It's got pretty strong body. It's sweet, very little tannin in it. The acid is not too bad. The alcohol is usually up there, though, and the body is pretty good. Look for stewed apricot, vanilla, brown sugar, tobacco undertones in the taste and in the aroma. And you serve it in the dessert glass. You don't need to decant it. Don't spend too much for Marsala. You don't have to. You can find them all over the place. You can age them if you're one to put stuff in a cellar and let it age for your time. You can age Marsala wines for anywhere from 5 to 25 years. Aging, it's not going to hurt it. It might help it. I'd say might help. It depends on which ones you get. And so you can look at getting Marsala as one of your wines that you want to age in it. But before you start aging it, drink it. Find one and drink it and say, do I want to age this for any time? And if you do age it, it's probably going to mellow out the acid a little bit in it. And so that will be one of the benefits of aging it. But Marsala, it's Marsala. It's a strong wine, not one that people normally ask for, but it is something that can be refreshing. So, Marsala wine. And let's see, there was one other thing I wanted to talk about. And is this it? Where's that article? Okay. Oh, yeah, I saw this. I'm going to say this says California can't keep up with this popular grape, Sauvignon Blanc. It's really taken off the shelves all over the place. People, for some reason, are discovering Sauvignon Blanc. A lot of places are putting on sale because it's so popular. New Zealand, if you're looking for a Sauvignon Blanc that is really one of the best, I think New Zealand does one of the best jobs at turning out a Sauvignon Blanc, somewhat crisp. And picture a Chardonnay without the butteriness, a little bit more crispness to it. The alcohol level is
Sauvignon Blancs is usually not real high. 10% stuff like that. So you're not going to get a real sharp alcohol level, but you are going to pick up the acid in it. And Sauvignon Blancs usually have the acid that will jump out at you. So Sauvignon Blanc, it's becoming very popular right now for some reason. I don't know why. Robert Mondavi the winery there has been putting out a Fumé Blanc that they've started to do back in the 60s. And it's a Sauvignon Blanc, but they call it Fumé Blanc. And they've been selling that consistently for years and years and years. And now it's starting to become more popular, and so it's people are starting to buy it more and more. Grapes are getting expensive for the Sauvignon Blanc. 5 years ago, they were selling for around $2,800 a pound or a ton. That's how you measure the grape sales, and now it's up to about $4,000 because they are popular, and that's what happens. So pick yourself up some Sauvignon Blanc and give it a try. That might be a nice wine to have tomorrow while you're having your corned beef and cabbage. A nice acidic Sauvignon Blanc with the corned beef and cabbage would be really pretty nice, I think. So that's it. I think that was the last one I wanted to mention. And the storms hitting the areas, and low intervention natural wines are taking over Las Vegas. So there we are for another week. We don't have a guest as of now for next week, but the way I've got these people lined up, we could. So if we do, I'll let you know, and we'll find out what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, it is. I have no idea. God, all of a sudden now we're 2.5 minutes. It's 8:00 right on the dot. There you go. So we will be back next Thursday. That's March the 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. Standard? Is it? See?
7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
Daylight Time. I have still don't know, but
EDT,
that's fine.
Eastern Daylight Time now.
EDT.
That's going to last for
till
7 months, 8 months?
Probably.
Till November, first week in November.
Okay. I'll have to mark my calendar for that one.
Just about the time you get used to it, we're going to bounce it back again.
Yes. When I finally figured out which one it is, it'll go right back to the other one. So, anyway, thanks y'all for tuning in and for being out there, probably listening on the archives or something, but do appreciate it. And we will chat with you next week. Tune in and have a great weekend. Enjoy your safe and happy Thanksgiving. Wow, you said November. Nah, you said November, so kind of got me. St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day is tomorrow, isn't it? That's the actual day.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I thought it was just on the weekend.
We missed Pi Day last week.
We did.
You know that?
Yeah.
We missed Pi Day.
Yep. 3.1415. Blah blah blah. All that good stuff. But it was 3.14. Yep. Another one of those days.
None of the silly things that we do.
Yes. Another celebration. Have a good one, and be safe, and we'll see y'all next time. And if you're
see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
This concludes tonight's broadcast of All About Wine with your host, Ron. For show information, links to All About Wine on Twitter and Facebook, or to be a guest on this show, visit the show website at www.allaboutwinebtr.com. Archived shows are available for download on iTunes or on our show page at blogtalkradio.com/allaboutwine. Thank you for listening. Drink responsibly, and we'll see you next time on All About Wine.
That's it.
So how is the streaming on Facebook?
It's we're still talking. It's 7:59 still, and
Geez.
yeah, it's kind of funny because
How to do that?
well, I was watching the clock a bit because it has the clock on the video feed, and I thought, oh, okay, great, we're 7 seconds, that's perfect. And then I'm looking up stuff for some of the links and writing my notes and stuff. I come back to it, and we were almost 2 minutes off. I said, well, wait a minute. Why all of a sudden did he jump to 2 minutes? And then about 10 minutes after that, it was back to about 7 or 8 seconds delayed. The clocks were almost matching.
Wow.
I was like, okay, what are they seeing? And now we're still going. Haven't played the ending yet. As soon as it starts, I'll wait it. Oh, we're still on Blog Talk Radio. Yeah. But
That's 3 minutes.
It's 8 o'clock and 45 seconds right now on that, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah. It's strange.
And it just turned 8:04, so.
Yeah. So it's a bit out there, and
It's crazy. That's crazy. It's doing that.
ending video
Is
has
that from Facebook, or is that?
it's just the
Well, it has to be.
I'm streaming to a service that then streams out to 4 different destinations. Goes to Twitter and Facebook and everybody, and then 4 of those, and it's getting the signal from here and showing me what's showing, and don't know, just oh look, there's another winery. Okay, good. Can we show the outro now? Can we show that exit? So
Can we?
it's still delayed. So anyway, I'll just as soon as it runs, I'll stop the encoding, the streaming part, and then it'll cut it off. But if I stop it now, they'll never see the exit. So it's kind of like stuck.
That puts it about 5 minutes. That puts about 4 minutes behind what we were, because I think it was right at 8 that we got out.
I don't get it. I don't understand why it's that delayed. Maybe some more. Oh, now it just started. So the song just started, or the music.
So the outro is playing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wine with your host, Ron.
Yep.
Oh
There
my
it goes.
gosh.
Yep. So,
No,
wait till that
show's
stops.
only less than a minute, so
Yeah.
it finally ended. Wow, that's
Yeah.
strange.
Yep. That's funny.
Any of you people out there that are still listening to us that might have an answer to that, drop us a line.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're listening, drink responsibly, and we'll see you next time on All About Wine.